Alright, so today we're stepping into some uncharted territory. After a solid decade of using nothing but MacBooks, I decided to shake things up and switch over to this, the Asus Zenbook Duo. Yeah, you heard that right. I ditched my trusty MacBook Pro for something completely different. This isn't just any laptop. This is a dual screen beast with 14-inch OLED touchscreens, rocking an Intel Core Ultra 7 Evo, 1TB SSD, and 16GB of RAM. And let me tell you, it's been one hell of a ride. So buckle up because I'm about to take you through my experience of switching over from the MacBook Pro to this absolute unit of a laptop.
I've been feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall.
How's it going, everyone? My name is RJ, and let me start by saying this. I've been a MacBook user for 10 straight years. That's a decade of loyalty to Apple's ecosystem. My MacBook Pro has been my go-to for everything, editing videos, writing scripts, and even just kicking back and watching some YouTube videos. It's been a solid machine, no doubt about it. But here's the thing. After a while, you start to wonder if the grass is greener on the other side. I kept hearing about these wild new laptops coming out, and the Asus Zenbook Duo kept popping up on my radar. A dual screen laptop with an OLED display. That's some next level stuff. I was intrigued to say the least. But what really pushed me to make the switch over was the idea of trying something new. I mean, how often do we get comfortable with what we know and just stick with it? I wanted to see if there was something out there that could challenge my MacBook Pro, and the Zenbook Duo seemed like the perfect contender. So I partnered with Asus and decided to give it a shot. The day the Zenbook Duo arrived at my doorstep, I knew I was in for something special. Unboxing this thing was like opening a portal to the future. Asus did not skimp on the presentation. It's clear that they wanted to make a statement. The moment I lifted the lid, I was greeted by this gorgeous 14-inch OLED touchscreen, and right below it, another 14-inch OLED display. This isn't just another laptop, it's a freaking versatile beast. The design is sleek, industrial, and honestly, a bit intimidating. This isn't your average laptop. The color gray adds a level of sophistication, and the build quality is solid. It's got some heft to it, which I actually appreciate. You can feel the quality in your hands, and it's clear that Asus put a lot of thought into making this machine as durable as it is powerful. Once I powered it on, the dual OLED display hit me like a ton of bricks. It's vibrant, it's crisp, and the colors just pop. This isn't like any displays I've ever used before. The second display is impressive. It sits just below the keyboard and it's also a touchscreen. The possibilities with this thing are endless, but more on that a bit later. Now let's talk about that dual screen setup. This is what sets apart the Zenbook Duo from anything else on the market. It's like having a built-in second monitor, and once you start using it, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. But let's be real, it did take me a minute to get used to. I've been so conditioned by the single screen setup of the MacBook Pro that having a second built-in screen into a laptop was almost overwhelming at first. The layout is also different. The keyboard is detachable and attaches via magnets, and there are a ton of different modes. It's a unique setup and it definitely does take some getting used to. For the first few days, I found myself forgetting the second display was even there. Old habits die hard, right? But once I started integrating the second display into my workflow, it was a total game changer. Editing videos, I'd have my timeline on the main screen and all of my tools and effects on the bottom display. Writing scripts, I kept my research and my notes down on the bottom screen while I typed up top. It's like having a dual monitor setup but without the bulk. It's efficient, it's intuitive, and it's just plain cool. Alright, now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Performance. One of my biggest concerns with switching over from my MacBook Pro was whether or not the Zenbook Duo could keep up with the demanding tasks I throw at my laptops on a daily basis. My MacBook Pro has always been a reliable workhorse, so the Zenbook Duo had some big shoes to fill. And let me tell you, this thing just didn't fill those shoes. It exceeded my expectations. The Zenbook Duo is powered by the Intel Core Ultra 7 Evo, which is an absolute beast of a processor. Combine that with 16GB of RAM and a 1TB SSD, and you've got a machine that can pretty much handle anything you throw at it. Video editing, rendering, running multiple applications at once, this laptop doesn't even break a sweat. One thing that really impressed me was how smooth everything runs. The MacBook Pro is known for its seamless performance, and the Zenbook Duo is right up there. Whether I'm editing 4K footage or multitasking between a dozen different apps, this laptop keeps up without a hitch. And then there's the OLED displays. I can't stress enough how much of a difference this makes, especially for content creators. The colors are incredibly accurate and the contrast is off the charts. Blacks are truly blacks, and the vibrancy of the colors makes everything just look that much better. It's a visual experience that my MacBook Pro just can't replicate. Switching from macOS to Windows was another big leap for me. After 10 years in the Apple ecosystem, I was pretty comfortable with how everything worked. But I was also excited to see what Windows had to offer, especially with the Zenbook Duo's unique setup. Windows 11 is what the Zenbook Duo runs on, and I gotta say, it's got a solid operating system. It's got a sleek, modern UI, and it's incredibly user-friendly. But what really blew me away was how well Windows integrates with a dual-screen laptop. Asus clearly has put in a lot of work into making sure the dual-screen experience is as smooth as possible, and it does show every time I use this laptop. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss some of the features from macOS. Handoff, AirDrop, and the overall continuity between Apple devices are hard to beat. And while Windows 11 is great, there's still a part of me that misses the simplicity and the elegance of macOS. That said, the Zenbook Duo makes up for it with its unique hardware capabilities and unique features like Intel Unison, which quickly connects to my iPhone, and I'm able to quickly drag and drop whatever files I want from my phone to my laptop, which you can say is sort of like an AirDrop replacement, and it's been working totally fine. So after spending some quality time with the Zenbook Duo, how does it hold up in the real world? In short, it's a powerhouse. This laptop has handled everything I've thrown at it with ease, and the dual screen setup has genuinely changed the way I work. One of the biggest benefits of the Zenbook Duo is its versatility. Whether I'm editing videos, writing scripts, or just browsing the web, it adapts really well to whatever I need. The performance is top-notch and the build quality is excellent. It's a machine that feels like it's built to last, and that's something I really appreciate. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Something to consider is the weight. The Zenbook Duo is heavier than the MacBook Pro, and if you're someone who travels a lot, that's something to keep in mind. But for me, the trade-off is worth it. The added extra weight is a small sacrifice for the added functionality and the power that the Zenbook Duo offers. Let's talk a bit more about how the Zenbook Duo is perfect for content creators. The performance of the Zenbook Duo makes it a powerhouse for any creative task. Whether you're rendering videos, working with large Photoshop files, or running multiple Adobe applications simultaneously, the Zenbook Duo handles it all without a hitch. The RTX graphics paired with the stunning OLED display means that every detail of your work is crystal clear, and you can trust what you see on the screen is true to life. This is something that really stands out for content creators who need that level of precision. One of the things that's always bugged me about the MacBook Pro was the lack of ports. Don't get me wrong, I get that Apple is all about minimalism, but when you're constantly hunting for dongles just to plug in an external hard drive or connect to a projector, it gets old pretty fast. The Zenbook Duo, on the other hand, is loaded with ports. You've got your USB-A, USB-C, HDMI, and even a micro SD card slot. That's right, no more carrying around a bag full of dongles. Everything you need is built right into the laptop. And then there's the Thunderbolt 4 support. It's an absolute beast. It's fast, reliable, and perfect for connecting to external storage devices or high-resolution displays. Now, the Zenbook Duo is definitely marketed as a productivity and creative machine, but it's also no slouch when it comes to gaming. I'm not saying it's going to replace your high-end gaming PC, but if you're like me and you like to unwind with a game or two, this laptop can more than handle it. I tested out a few games, from League of Legends to lighter, more casual games like Overwatch, and the performance was solid. The RTX graphics does a great job, and the OLED screens make everything look stunning. Plus, having a second display available for things like Discord chats, Twitch streams, or in-game maps adds a unique twist to that gaming experience. Alright, let's talk about the downsides, because let's face it, no laptop is perfect. As much as I loved using the Zenbook Duo, there are a few things you need to consider before making the switch. First up, the keyboard and the trackpad layout. This trackpad is something that you will either get used to or something that's going to drive you crazy. It's also not as comfortable for extended typing sessions as the MacBook Pro's layout, and if you do a lot of typing, this may be a deal breaker for you. Then there's the weight. The Zenbook Duo is heavier than a MacBook Pro, and if you're someone who's constantly on the move, that's something to consider. It's not a huge deal for me, but I know portability is a big factor for a lot of people. The price is another thing to keep in mind. The Zenbook Duo isn't cheap. If you are on a tight budget, you might need to weigh the pros and cons carefully. And finally, if you're entrenched in the Apple ecosystem, then switching over to a Windows laptop might be a bit jarring. You lose things like handoff, AirDrop, and iMessage, which might be a deal breaker for some. But if you're willing to step outside the Apple bubble, then the Zenbook Duo has a lot to offer. So after spending a couple of months with the Asus Zenbook Duo, what's my final verdict? Should you make the switch from a MacBook Pro? If you're a creative professional, a multitasker, or someone who values innovation and versatility, I'd say absolutely yes. The Zenbook Duo is a powerhouse that offers features you will not find on any other laptop. The dual screen setup is more than just for novelty. It's a productivity booster that can genuinely change the way you work. The performance is top-notch, the build quality is excellent, and the extra ports and connectivity options are a godsend for anyone who's tired of carrying dongles. While there is a learning curve and a few trade-offs, I believe the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks. But if you're someone who's deeply entrenched in the Apple ecosystem, or if you value portability and simplicity above all else, then switching over might be a bit harder to justify. The Zenbook Duo is a different kind of machine, and it requires a different mindset to fully appreciate what it has to offer. The bottom line is it all comes down to what you value most in a laptop. For me, the Zenbook Duo has been a breath of fresh air, a reminder that there is a whole world of innovation outside of the Apple bubble. It's a machine that challenges the status quo, and in doing so, it opens up new possibilities for how we work and how we create. So if you're ready to step outside your comfort zone and explore something new, the Asus Zenbook Duo is worth a serious look. It's a laptop that dares to be different, and in a world of cookie-cutter devices, that's something to be celebrated.